Good to meet you. Don't let his shorts intimidate you.
I love it.
What we got? I got something for you.
All right, great.
We have been 92 to 96% participation rate in camp from our strength coaches. So those are the
Okay.
numbers.
All right.
So vary between that.
And where does that compare to a normal camp? Would you say
That's
it's better?
outstanding.
Okay.
So to get that many guys participating every day, that's really good. So
One new guy who's not participating is Darnay. Is there anything?
no, he's day to day. He may probably go today, I think, or he'll do something today. So
Okay. Looking at some of the stats from last year, you guys only returned 9 kickoffs in 12 games.
Mhm.
How much of that was a function of just wanting to get it at the 25
well,
versus?
I think anybody wants to get it to 25. If you average 25 yards a return, I think we finished. You can check it. We may have been second in the conference in starting field position on kickoffs. So they're going to give it to you on the 25 and take it on the 25.
But even with a guy like Darnay, we saw what he could do against Stanford. With
Yeah,
that.
but everybody has a guy like that. But just look at the numbers. If your average starting field position is 25, I think we were second in the conference and in the top 10 in the country. So you're just playing. It's just an analytical game.
Coach, when it comes, you said that you hadn't had a lot of injuries so far in camp. You said, and we just said about the participation. Would you attribute that? Maybe have you shifted a little your philosophy from last fall, maybe going live a little bit less? Has there been any kind of
No.
shift or any change?
Now the shift is that Frank and his group just do an unbelievable job. I think the things that nag you in camp for most people are the soft tissue injuries. Now, if you get a concussion or a broken arm, there's nothing that strength and conditioning can do about that. But the amount of soft tissue injuries are really down, and I think it's Frank's had a year to implement his system in terms of how he's done that. It's one of the things that was really attractive about him when I hired him is that they do a great job in preparing guys to play football, and that's what they do. So I think a lot of it goes to Frank and his staff and the players for being prepared and ready when camp started. That we're going to go. We train at a really high level, but our guys were prepared to train at a really high level this year.
And you've gone live just as much as you
Yeah,
did
we
last
do. Nothing's changed from what we do from last season.
Does the NFL go live less, would you say?
They have 4 preseason games,
Right.
so they go live more. If you think
I mean
about
in
it.
practice, though, throughout the
There's
season.
not much live in practice for those guys because you have 4 preseason games. So
Got it.
that's all part of the process. Our defense tackles every day, whether it's in individual drills or whatever. So it's something that we practice all the time. And we've been in helmets and shoulder pads every day that we've been allowed to be in helmets and shoulder pads. So our practices have been physical in nature. But I really think the biggest thing from an injury standpoint is the soft tissue injuries. And that's the real credit goes to Frank and his staff for that.
Unless I'm missing something, Derek Sage had no special teams formal experience as far as being a coach before this year. What was it about him that made you confident in him taking on this responsibility?
You missed.
Okay, what
He was
was
at
it?
Wyoming. He was a special teams guy. So
Okay,
he's already done it before in his past. So.
okay, I didn't see that on his resume.
Okay.
So, what was that the?
He's done it before and he was really good at it. And when we discussed and looked at candidates, we had a really good candidate in-house. So that's what we did. But he's, and the other thing is that almost all coaches, whether it's Jay or Paul or Don Pelham or any of our coaches, they coach special teams. There's one guy coordinating the whole thing, but he doesn't coach all 11 guys. So, Paul's got the right side of punt, DP's got the left side of punt, Sagey's got the shield and the punter. And that's kind of how we do it. And it's the same thing with punt return. He has the back wedge on kickoff return. It's all varied. So all coaches, really, except for probably the quarterback coach and the O-line coach, aren't used in special teams, but they all have part of it. But there's one guy that coordinates it, and that's Derek, and Derek's got experience. So.
Have you been happy with how that's all worked together, come together?
I have. I think he's done a really nice job. He's been really organized, very detailed, and I think our players have done a really good job of it so far.
How do you feel like Daytona Jackson's progressed in the spring?
He's done a nice job. I think part of it is we've got some depth there for the, a little bit different than last year. A lot of those freshmen were just green and just gotten here, so you got some veterans there, but he's doing a nice job fitting in with, what Vince is trying to get those guys to do.
What does he bring to that position?
He brings some athleticism, and that's what we had hoped for when we looked at him at junior college coming out. So, he can move, and, as he continues to pick up our system, you see him get comfortable each and every day we're out here. So.
How about Jordan Wilson at tight end? What have you seen from him?
Jordan had a great offseason, has really worked very hard from a conditioning and speed and strength standpoint. That was really evident when we got back. I think he's running better. He's obviously a year older and a little bit more mature in understanding our system, but Jordan's had a fantastic offseason, and we're really excited about where he is right now.
Last year you had 6 guys that were out at the beginning of the year for disciplinary means or reasons. Do you anticipate any of that?
I don't have any information on any of that stuff right now, but I would hope not. So.
Is Carl Jones working any of the linebackers right now?
Who?
Carl Jones.
Carl Jones is playing everything, so he's a nickel for us. So he's getting work with he's getting work up front. He's getting work with Paul. So we're just trying to. He's another kid that's done a really nice job. We're just trying to find spots for him. So in this day and age in college football and professional football, the ability to find guys that can play nickel. And then play nickel linebacker, or sometimes you got to. It's a substitution game. So how do you substitute, and where do you bring those guys in? Mo Osling is working in a couple spots. Jay Shaw is working in a couple spots. So there's a lot of guys. Kenny Churchwell's working in a couple spots. So when you're trying to match teams that are putting 4 receivers and a small running back on the field, well then you have to match their personnel. So we're using a lot of different guys in those situations.
How's Carl doing in that position as a freshman taking over?
Carl's been really good, no matter where we put him. I think he's a football player, so he just wants to play. So he's been good from a special team standpoint. He's been good from a nickel standpoint. He's been good from a DB standpoint. So.
Talking about versatility, what does Langi Toaloa bring? Outside,
He's
inside,
same.
he moves
He's
around.
kind of in that boat with those guys. Another athletic linebacker that can play a couple multiple positions, can be an outside rush guy, can be an inside guy in some of our nickel and dime packages. So he just gives you that versatility that you can move some guys around. But he's smart, so he can handle both. So he's done a real good job.
You got new member of the secondary with Blaylock. How's you like him integrating in there?
New?
Well, new starter potentially.
He was there last year, so, and played last year for us. So we're not integrating anything. I mean, I think Steven proved that he deserved to play last year and played for us last year. So done a really nice job. Really liked how he progressed over the spring and has come back very, very, very intelligent. He's a lot like Q Lake, from a X and O standpoint in terms of picking things up. So he's fit in really well back there.
Last question. Everyone good?
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.